In this video, we're going to see a demonstration of how you can access the laboratory manual and the required graded pre-lab assessments that are required for all the introductory physics laboratories. These instructions will be valid whether you're a student in Physics 1300, 1310, Physics 1400, 1410, or Physics 2100. Now, depending on what course you're in, your Brightspace page might look a little bit different, but keep in mind that these instructions should be valid for all of those courses. I'm going to be simulating a Physics 1300 student in this video, but it shouldn't matter what course you're in. These instructions will help you get to where you need to go. First off, the most important thing to know is that you need to be accessing all of the laboratory resources through the Brightspace page for the laboratory section. We do not link any of the laboratory materials or resources through the lecture Brightspace pages. So when you want to access your laboratory things, make sure you're in the Brightspace section for the lab. The title should say something like lab. So here on the screen, you can say it says Lab Intro Physics, Life Sciences 1. That lets you know you're in the Brightspace section for the lab. And up here, you can see I'm in Physics 1300, section 51. All of the labs should be a section number that's 51 or higher in the physics department. So once you're in your Brightspace page, and it may look different for the different classes, but they're all going to look something very similar to this, all the laboratory material can be accessed by clicking on the content button. So when you look at the content button, you're going to see two ways of getting at the lab manual. One through the Physics 1300, 1400 laboratory manual link, and one through the Achieve Access link. So say you want to start by looking at the laboratory manual. This will take you only to the manual. Achieve Access will take you to the Achieve website where all the assessments are going to be performed and graded. And there's a link to the lab manual there as well. So let's start off just by looking at the lab manual. I'm going to click on this link. Now, depending on the access that you've had to it before, you're going to see some kind of site that's asking you to log in. I have not logged in before, so it's asking me to confirm your name and email so we can remember you for next time. If you've created a Macmillan account before, then just submit the credentials that you used when you previously created. If you're in 1300 or 1400, you're going to be doing the exact same things in 1310 and 1410. So please make a note of your login name and email and the passwords that you're using to create the account. You'll be using that account over and over again. So the first time you do it, you're going to see something like this. So I'll just hit submit, and it's connecting through. It knows that I have a Macmillan account, and it is launching the manual right up here. So note you have a new tab, and I'm looking, for example, at Lab Chapter 6. Now, something very important when you're trying to do this. First, make sure the web browser you're using allows pop-ups. Note that the Brightspace page is over here, and it says your Macmillan learning content has loaded in a new window or tab. And here's that tab. If you're using a browser that does not allow pop-ups, you're not going to see any of this. So make sure in your browser, whatever browser you're using, make sure you allow or enable pop-ups from this particular publisher, which is Macmillan. Second thing is we strongly recommend that you actually use Google Chrome. Of course, there are other browsers out there, Safari for the Macintosh being the biggest one. We really encourage you to use Chrome, Google Chrome, and make sure it's the latest updated version of Chrome. That is the only way we can really guarantee that you're seeing what you should be seeing. So even if you're using a Mac, try to come in through Google Chrome and not Safari. It just ensures a much better experience. At any rate, so if you're in 1300 or 1400, here are all the lab materials that you need to know. Again, if you're watching this for 1310, 1410, it'll look the same, but the chapters will be different. This is an online reading book. The publisher we're working with is called Macmillan. So the tab you're in right now is Macmillan, that's the publisher, and VitalSource is their reading platform. And this is essentially an electronic book. It has the labs printed in there, and these videos are linked right in through the ebook. So this is essentially an ebook. It lives online. Once you have a Macmillan account, then you can view this book anytime you want, and you can go through and look at Lab 1, Lab 2, etc. Now, what I want to point out is that what you're not going to see when you open up the lab manual is any of the pre-lab exercises. You might be looking at it saying, oh, okay, I see all the labs, no pre-lab exercises. I guess there's no pre-labs we have to turn in. If you do that, you run the risk of showing up to lab, not having done the pre-labs, and they're not going to let you into the room and you'll receive a 0 for the week. So you don't want to do that. The point is the pre-lab assessments are not bundled inside the ebook. For that, you need to use the other link. So I can leave this window open. Let's go back to the Brightspace page now. Always go under course resources. When you want to do the pre-lab assessments for all the courses, it's going to be through Achieve Access. Achieve is the name of the platform that the Macmillan publisher maintains. For those of you in Physics 1400 or 2100, for example, you're used to using Mastering Physics. Mastering Physics is a platform that's run by the Pearson publishers. Achieve is the platform run by Macmillan publishers. So you're going to hear me talking about websites which are Brightspace and Achieve. And those are the two sites you need to be able to access to complete all of the pre-lab activities for the Physics Introductory Labs and Physics 2100. So let's do that now by clicking on Achieve Access. So I'm doing that. Now, Achieve, you have to click on this second Achieve right here. So just remember, Achieve, Achieve. So when I clicked on that Achieve Access, it brought me to these course tools. Click on this first Achieve right here. Note it has opened up another new window. Again, your pop-ups need to be enabled. Now I'm in the Achieve site. So this is your Achieve classroom site. It's again, just like Mastering Physics would be for Pearson, but this is the Achieve site. So you're going to be seeing a bunch of pre-lab assessments. I can come over here. Let me give you the student preview. So this is what you should see as a student. The view you were seeing before was my instructor view. This is the student view. When I log in, I'm seeing, for example, for 1300, 1400, there's 2 files that I'm going to need in the first week and the second week. And then there are these pre-lab activities. These are the lab activities that are going to be graded for you. And then there's also a link to the lab manual. So really, that Achieve Access tab that takes you to the Achieve site is really the only link you actually need, because the lab manual, if you click on this, is actually right here. If I click on this link, it opens up a new tab, and then the lab manual is going to open up. It's basically a link to the same place as that previous lab manual link was. To do the pre-lab activities, you're going to want both of these tabs open. The pre-lab assessment questions are talking about material that is contained within the lab. So for example, in week 3, you're going to need to have this week 3 lab manual open, and then there are going to be some questions that appear. So where are the questions? Now look, I'm in course content, only the lab manual. You can always click back to course content, and now we're seeing the assessments there. There's a simple, very simple drop-down menu here that allows you to view it by assignments or by course content. If we go to assignments, it'll look like this. Note for right now, it says nothing is due this week. That's because your laboratory GA or TA is going to be responsible for assigning the due date for your particular lab section. Once the labs get running, if I go back to this course content view, these, for example, these first 2 assignments, which for 1300, 1400 students are due the first week, it's going to have a due date of the exact starting time of your lab. So make sure when you come to lab, you've completed the Lab 0 practice assignment, the Lab 0 Welcome to Achieve orientation. Those are required assignments for Physics 1300, 1400, and 1310, 1410, most likely when we launch that course. So that's really all you need to do. The Achieve website will keep track of all of your grades. It is separate from the Brightspace site, but your lab, GA or TA, will have access to all of your grades. What he or she will be doing when you come to class is looking at the grade book for this lab 1300-51 site. He or she will be checking to make sure that you've done all the required pre-lab activities for the day. And if you have, you'll be allowed to enter the lab and go through the experiments for that day. If you have not bothered to do the pre-lab activities, as the syllabus says, you are not allowed to do the lab for that day. You're considered late at that point. You're not allowed to make it up. You're just not allowed to participate, and you will be getting a 0. So make sure every week you're checking this Achieve site to see what the required assessments are. And every week there will be a required pre-lab assessment. So make sure you're familiar with that. So At any rate, I go back to the Brightspace site, and that's really all you need to know. Just remember, Brightspace site for your lab section at the lecture course. Go into the content. Content should have course resources, and the course resources should look like the lab manual. All you really need is the Achieve Access. When you go to the Achieve Access, make sure you create a Macmillan Achieve identity. Make sure you always use your UWindsor email as your identifying email. There's no reason to ever use anything that's not your UWindsor email. And that'll open up this handy dandy Achieve site where all of the assessments are going to be done and automatically graded. If you follow these instructions, go a little bit slowly at first, you should have no problem accessing the lab manual, which looks something like this, and your Achieve assessments, which are going to be performed by clicking on these and done electronically. So those are the instructions. That's all there is to it. Learn it now, and you'll be doing it again in next semester's classes, which should be done exactly the same way. So we hope this was helpful. We hope you don't have any problems. So good luck and have a great semester, everybody.